For me, my journey, I think back to my elders, a grandmother who came from Torreon into the United States as a baby, really, as a child, who was orphaned because her parents died of, we think, TB. And the siblings were all sort of separated. One stayed in Mexico and the other two came to California. And the start of sort of the family was in a town called Tulare in central San Joaquin Valley in California. And that's where my parents, met and grew up, and worked as farm laborers with their parents for a period of time. They were, of course, first generation, so I am the next generation. And growing up with them was, I think as we all get older, we hearken back to our family, system and marvel at what our parents were able to accomplish. But for my parents, they moved to Los Angeles, and my father was a commercial artist, but soon found that in his professional field, there was a lot of inequities for artists within the LA area. So he became actually a union organizer, and began to organize so that particularly the artists who were Spanish speaking, who didn't have anyone to fight for them, would be seen and heard. And my mother was a public health nurse and spent all of her time really becoming a nurse after she had all three of us. I was a very independent soul. So when I turned 5, I said, I don't need you, Mom. I can walk to school on my own. And she set about getting her LVN and then her RN when I was in high school. So I watched both of them really be attentive to what was happening in the community. In my application to School of Social Welfare at UCLA, I wrote that my father used to take us to downtown LA and have us sit in a park and just see what was happening around us, see the poverty, see homelessness, but also see the beauty and the joy of the immigrants who were in that park. And it caused 2 of us, at least, to become social workers. And my other sibling, I think, really tries to create change in his profession as well. So, I remember, being a really feisty child. In elementary school, one of my teachers called my parents in and said, she gets upset every time we talk about history and poverty. And I remember that, I remember just always having this internal fire around why are people impoverished, and, what can we do to change that? And so I think through elementary school and then in junior high was the tail end of integrated busing. So that was one attempt at integration and dealing with school inequities. And I kind of cracked up when Kamala Harris said in the one of the presidential debates, I was that child being bused, because I was like, yes, me too. I was that child. But I also saw how the white community fought back and won against those attempts at integration in our school system. And I saw the bitter fights among students on campus because of what their parents were, filling them up with. And so I saw that attempt fail and many others after that. And so, for me, going into this work around social justice and racial equity change, I can't separate my soul from it. And there's been times in my career where I've been pushed out of systems because I've been labeled as the community, advocate. And I've had colleagues telling me, well, you really have to separate yourself from your work, and you are not what you do. And I said, well, I actually am in this case. And so I really enjoy being on the outside, creating pathways for residents to be in the room where it happens, and pushing back to systems who have largely not made strides in cultural change. And I hope that I can remain humble and serve the residents for the rest of my life.